We are counting down our top 10 moments of 2024. Welcome to Playing the Field, the Bachelor podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Field, the sports anchor here at WABC in New York City. Longtime Bachelor fan, and we are joined now by our fan favorites, Miss Jenn Tran from WABC here in New York. She's our Bachelor insider, our Bachelor expert from KABC out there in Los Angeles. Gina is back here with us. Gina Sirico. She also stars in the On the Red Carpet specials out there for ABC in LA. She's got her finger on the pulse, and we have her here to give us all the scoop, if you will, to dish on everything that's happening out on the West Coast. She provided us some great interviews, by the way. Last week. Gina, did you have fun out there at the that was at the Jingle Ball?
Jingle Ball.
I almost said Mirror Ball. We're getting our shows mixed up.
Nope,
here.
wrong one.
Jingle
wrong
Bell,
show.
yes.
Wrong show.
Jingle Ball, I should say. Did you have a good time at Jingle Ball?
Yeah, it was, it's always a good time to see all of our Bachelor friends and, performers from, all the fun performers, Teddy Swims and Paris.
Yeah, well, we definitely,
all those people.
We definitely enjoyed listening to the interviews here on the podcast and playing them for our viewers. And we're going to count down our top 10 favorite moments. And this was a tough list to compile. And listen, full disclosure, I can take no credit for this list because these responsibilities go far beyond what I'm capable of. So Gina and Jenn put their heads together and came up with this top 10 list.
Yes.
And a degree of difficulty, 1 to 10.
Oh, it was like a 7.
It was a 7? Gina, would you give it a 7?
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, first of all, let's put it this way. First of all, we've had this podcast for
9 months.
About a year. Less than a year.
9 months.
So
it's been a pregnancy term.
It's our little baby.
It's our little baby. It's our little Bachelor baby.
Yes.
We're going to call it a Bachelor baby.
This list is our child.
Are we checking it twice?
Yeah. And
I think we checked it 3 times, actually. There were, for those of you that aren't involved in production, and I wish we could bring our viewers into this, between the group chats and the emails, it's a lot. It really is. And I think that's why I just remove myself from these processes because it's too much. I'm just going to call it a headache. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Well, so give us the headache.
Yeah, exactly.
What it is.
I just want people to stay and listen because we have some fun insight for all of these things. It's not like a recap show where we're just going to be like blah, blah, blah clips.
We would never do blah, blah, blah clips.
It is not like when you're watching Seinfeld and you see it and,
blah, blah, blah.
And you're like, oh, no, not one of these shows. So anyway.
It will be much better than that, we promise. But there are some headlines that we have to get to here in Bachelor Nation before we get to our very much anticipated top 10 list. The latest and greatest comes from Aaron Rodgers, and me being the sports guy, I like then when we can kind of cross-pollinate, if you will, and discuss sports with The Bachelor. And for those of you that don't know, his brother Jordan was on season 12, JoJo's season, right?
Yes,
JoJo. Yeah. I was thinking, wait, Jordan wasn't The Bachelor. JoJo was The Bachelorette.
Yes.
Right.
And they're together.
Yes. And they're together.
Yep.
So if we go back to this, and this is obviously Jenn and Gina where I lean on you, from what I remember, Jordan kind of hinted at some family drama with Aaron, which is why he was not there. And everybody kept waiting to see Aaron Rodgers on this season of The Bachelor, or Bachelorette, I should say. Yep. But you always kind of wondered, you're like, well, what's the drama? Like, why is he not involved with the family, right?
Yeah. Well, I also wondered if it was just didn't line up with the sports season or something, or he had some other responsibility going on, and maybe he was a little irked that he just couldn't be a part of it. I don't know.
Well, and that's exactly what happened because he came out, this was a big article in Page 6 about how, he felt like, so basically Aaron Rodgers, for those of you that don't know, has a Netflix docuseries out right now, all about his ayahuasca excursions and, his trip into the darkness for 4 days. He's a very, what's the word we're looking for here?
Eccentric?
Eccentric, thank you. He's a very eccentric dude, Aaron Rodgers. He's a little out there. And who was his most recent fiance?
Shailene Woodley.
Yeah, and she came out recently too with some comments very strong about Mr. Rodgers, about the trauma that she caused him and when she can't think about it. Anyway, so that's the backstory to all of this. So for whatever reason, in episode 2 of this Netflix docuseries, he starts talking about his brother being on The Bachelor and how he felt he there was an episode when they went to hometowns and they had 2 seats open for he and Olivia Munn that they left empty on the show in Chico, California. So that was they show the pictures of them here at dinner, and the entire Rodgers family is there except for Aaron and his then was it girlfriend, fiance? I think they were engaged.
Really?
Were they engaged?
I don't remember.
Gina, this is where we count on you bringing all the then girlfriend, Olivia.
I think
Munn.
they were just dating. I don't know
They
that
were
they
just
ever
dating.
were
So
engaged.
yeah, so
Wrong.
Aaron Rodgers says, quote, "And what do? They go on a BS show and leave 2 empty chairs. They all agreed this was a good thing to do, to leave 2 empty chairs at a stupid dating show that my brother just went on to get famous, his words, not mine, that he ended up winning, but a dinner that was during the football season, to your point, Jen. I was never asked to go," then adds, "not that I would have gone."
Ooh.
So the topic was brought up during the docuseries. Aaron explained that his family dynamic has changed over the years. He admitted he was never, quote, super duper close with everybody in the family, but that he had been close with his younger brother, Jordan, who's now 36. However, there seems to be a crumbled relationship now between them that the NFL star, or their relationship crumbled once the NFL star made it big. In actuality, Rodgers says it goes back to stuff from high school that kind of made me feel distant, stuff in college, stuff post-college. So there we go. So clearly there's still some family dynamic issues going on.
The 2 empty chairs.
The 2 empty chairs. Do we think, Gina, that was a good idea that they left the 2 empty chairs there for him and Olivia Munn?
It was a big topic of conversation at that point. And yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers was the big name and everything. So it makes sense that they would try and play that up. Why Aaron Rodgers is bringing it up now, 10 years later.
And then to say not that he would have gone anyway. So I think he's just more irked that
That's
irked
the kind of
that
thing
they
I'd
made
say to my sister.
Yeah. See,
Right?
family
I didn't wanna go
dynamic.
anyway,
Exactly.
you know?
Family dynamic. But I think his whole thing is it made Aaron Rodgers look bad, right? Because it made it seem like, oh, look, there's 2 chairs here, and this guy didn't even bother showing up.
Yeah.
So
and he could be
basically,
getting engaged.
right.
You know?
So
Yeah.
basically, Rodgers is saying that, listen, it was during football season, to Jen's point, and he probably wouldn't have gone anyway. But in his opinion, and I think you agree, Jen, they probably should not have had the 2 empty chairs there.
2 empty seats. And you know what? It goes back to the old thing of it's always nice to be invited, right?
No doubt.
Like, especially with family stuff, you just include people when you can.
I have not watched the Netflix docuseries. It's on the list about Aaron Rodgers, which I'm sure is fascinating amongst a lot of other words you can come up with. But I'll be curious to see in the scope of this docuseries how that came up. But I saw that on page 6, and I was like, wow, this is a blast from the past. Why are they talking about this from so long ago? But here we are. Some other big headlines. Mark Anderson, everybody's favorite from the Golden Bachelorette. Kelsey's dad, dating the One Tree Hill.
Barbara Allen Woods,
Yeah.
and it's going strong. I mean, this is great. He's on social media. She did a post, and they're at a reunion, and all the One Tree Hill stars were there, and he accompanied her. And then when you flip through the post on Instagram, at least that's where I saw it, she's in like a Christmas sweater with him, and he's standing there, and they look all cute. It's just adorable. I like this. I like this for him.
Gina, do you like this couple?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, if you see the smile on his face in these photos and in the videos with her, like that's what you're looking for. That's what that's what everybody wants. They want him to be happy. He went on the show and, was hoping to find love there, and it didn't work, but he found love elsewhere.
But you
That's
two,
awesome.
But you two were also hoping that he was going to be the Golden Bachelor. Are you willing to forego him being on the Golden Bachelor to date the One Tree Hill
If
star?
he's
Wow,
happy.
okay.
If he's happy.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have their own show someday.
Maybe they will. It'll be Two
There you
Tree
go.
Hill.
Exactly.
That'll be the spin-off. The other big news, unfortunate news,
Yeah.
speaking of the Golden Bachelor, Gary, it's come public that he's dealing with bone marrow cancer, and we obviously wish him the best in that fight. And Teresa came out publicly, Jen, and had something to say about that.
She said, Gary had said it was part of his decision making to not kind of put her at the forefront of his mind and work on their relationship as much as he probably could have, because he had all this going on and he wanted to spend time with his family. So he didn't want to move to South Carolina. He wanted to stay where his kids and grandkids were. And Teresa also seemed like she kind of wanted that same thing, to be with her family. And he didn't want to deal with going back and forth. And he just wants to do with his time what he wants to do with it. It just changed his perspective. And there was some people saying like, oh, well, Teresa, she cut and run once that diagnosis came out. And she's like, that's not true at all. That was not the reason. So, and I believe that. I mean, I believe that she's telling the truth about that.
Yeah, and Gina, I think we can all agree, and as we talked about on the podcast last week, I had drinks with Leslie and Teresa when they were in New York. We met up for a happy hour beverage, and Teresa even then kind of hinted there was more to the story. But I think we can all agree, Gina, that there is more to the story as to why her and Gary did not work out.
Yeah, there's always more to the story. I mean, I think especially with couples that are as public as they are and, who found love on a TV show. I wonder, and it's something that kind of has been ruminating in my brain as, we've kind of digested this news about Gary. I wonder why, when they were announcing their divorce, that he didn't mention it then.
See, that's curious,
I just wonder.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And to recap for people that don't remember, especially me, the reason that they said that that it didn't work out was because of the distance. Yeah. And they didn't want, they couldn't move their families. Like, that's what they publicly said was the reason.
It's a partial part of the reason. And I think, we were talking about this before. There's just a lot that they didn't know about each other when they got married. It was so new. Yeah. And everyone even thought, I mean, me included, wow, this wedding came up real quick, right after the season ended.
Yeah, very fast.
So maybe it just wasn't enough time.
Well, listen, they basically had 2 group dates, a one-on-one, an overnight, and then she's engaged. Yeah. Like in no world, unless you're in Las Vegas, in no world does that ever come to fruition like that. At least for a healthy, sustainable relationship, 99% of the time. So, yeah, I think there were some underlying issues there that, because they didn't know each other and there were a lot of things that needed to be worked out. But all that to say, we're disappointed that it didn't work out between those two. Teresa is definitely looking to find someone in the same way Mark has now found someone. So she's out there enjoying her dating life, and we wish Gary the best in his fight with cancer, which we know will not be easy. So no easy way to transition from that to the top 10 list. But here we are. Drum roll, please. Now, can we give some for the folks at home?
Sure.
What is the criteria that we're looking for when making this list? Because I think that there's a lot of different ways we could have stacked this show. Because let's be honest, in our Bachelor baby, 9 months of playing the field, so many good moments we could have chosen. We've had so many good guests in studio, on Zoom. There was a lot to process here. So kudos to you ladies for narrowing this down to 10.
It wasn't
But
easy.
what was the criteria that you went with?
So what I tried to do was look at the best moments, maybe some of the worst moments, and also personally for us as a group, what meant a lot to us,
Love
and
it.
just so it's sort of a combination of what's biggest in Bachelor Nation, but also biggest for us.
Well, it's interesting that all the best moments you pick are the ones that Gina's not on the podcast. Is that
no, she's in a lot of it. She made sure. No.
Why is David nodding his head over here? David's like,
No,
yep,
she
that's
did-
pretty much how it went.
She did call to my attention an honorable mention that we'll get to.
Oh, we are we do have an honorable mention in this
do,
list.
yes,
Okay,
and-
because we couldn't get it to 10. We had an 11th one thrown in there, so it's top 10
We
plus 1.
probably could have had another 10, but I mean,
Oh,
we only have
easily.
so much time.
No, of
So-
course,
so-
of course.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough to break it all down. But do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I can't wait. So drum roll, please. Number 10. We had a chance to interview the Rose Master, not Roast Master, the Rose Master himself, Jesse Palmer, who we've had on, I think, a couple times now on this show. He talked about how the Bachelorette in Jenn's finale was going to be a roller coaster, and boy, was he ever right. He also talked about his time on the show and why the contestants on the show are almost never seen eating anymore. Go ahead and let's take a listen from this clip from early August. And some food for thought, talking about your journey, the fact that you were eating so much on The Bachelor has basically ruined it for all the contestants in the ensuing seasons. We never see anyone eat a meal outside of you with the fried chicken in Joey's season. But is there some regret on your part on how that went down in your season? And do you wish you had eaten less for the benefit of the rest of the ensuing seasons?
Absolutely. If anything, like I'm a bit embarrassed.
Aw.
Like on dates when I was at that age, that's literally what I was doing, because that was just me. I just love eating, love food. I get excited. I'm talking through it. And you can see it on the women's faces during our dates. They're just looking at me like, is this dude serious? He's joking, obviously. He's spitting corn on my face. He's spitting truffled corn on my face, telling me about his past relationships. It makes no sense. So, I mean, the cat's out of the bag. It's like you break the fourth wall. And there were a lot of firsts on my season. The first impression rose. We had the first villain, amongst a bunch of other things. But ruining the food for every person that's ever been on the show since, unfortunately, is one thing that I did as well. And I am eternally sorry for that.
Has it changed the way you eat now?
That was actually one of my favorite moments. One of my favorite moments on the show since we've been doing this, was when Jesse was in the pool in the floaty eating the Kentucky Fried Chicken. And that's what obviously promoted or brought up that question about him eating on the show. And I had forgotten that he had eaten on the show from way back when. And frankly, that changed The Bachelor for how we know it forever, basically.
I loved that all the clips of him when they were talking about his time eating on the show were a different format because the show was so long ago.
Right,
so it was like, oh, look at these old TV clips.
It might as well have been in black and white.
Oh.
Grainy, not HD.
We're historians, really.
You know what? For kids these days, that used to be a thing. There wasn't always HD TV, believe it or not. We did have standard def, as they called it,
yes.
back in the day. Gina, what did you like about that clip with Jesse?
I love that he was talking about how he was like spitting truffle corn, at women by eating. And, now like it's something that, the three of us, as we have gone on to this podcast, when we were starting this podcast, it was one of those questions that you always had, Ryan. So he answered it. And, now we know he's to blame. And it's been like a running thing because he said something about it in Jenn's season. He had told the story about the food, and that's why we had that moment. It's a riot, and I always love having Jesse on. I love always getting to chat with him and having him on podcasts.
He's great. And listen, trying to fill Chris Harrison's shoes, not an easy job, but he's done a very good job of that. And I love how he said, I am eternally sorry for that, eating. But listen, and before we get to number 9, I think that's one of the things we've tried to do on this podcast as best we can. We can't give away all the trade secrets of the show, but sometimes it's nice to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit and get some of these answers to some of these questions that the viewers are like, well, why are they never eating on the show? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of one of the things that we try to do on this pod with the audience is to give people, what are they called? The BTS behind the scenes of the podcast. And he kind of provided some interesting perspective, or I should say of the show. He kind of provided some interesting perspective on that, did Jesse. Now we go to number 9. The very charming and sweet Charles L. from the Golden Bachelorette, Joan's season. He was our guest on Zoom. He was exactly as Bachelor Nation had hoped, exactly the same guy that we saw in the show. So sweet, so soft-spoken, so kind. The guy that you would just want to give a big hug and hang out with all day and just listen to him talk. He was just great. One of our favorite guests, true to himself the whole time, and hopefully it is not the last time we see this legend, Charles L. Let's go ahead and listen to this clip from late October.
So are you getting stopped all over the place for photos and autographs and things like that?
But you keep a secret?
Sure.
Yes. I was stopped, when I flew back from Shanghai, I was stopped at the Seattle airport, and I was stopped at the LA airport. And yesterday I was stopped even at the gym. The Charles, welcome back. I can hug me and we talk about this. Then you know what? They say, Charles, can we have a photo?
Ah, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
You know, he's a celebrity now. And Gina was there for the Men Tell All. And I mean, how big of an ovation did he get? And there was women like basically throwing themselves at Charles L. when you were there.
Well, no, not at him. They were the one woman that came out said that, or that stood up said that she wanted him to be the Golden Bachelor, but if not, her mom is single.
Yeah, right.
So that so that's great. He is just such a sweetheart. The fact that he didn't realize, I think the best part of it all, the fact that he didn't realize what was the amount of fame and the amount of love that he had going on during the show, because he was in Shanghai and he didn't understand, or like he couldn't see all of the hype that was happening, the Charles hype. So I think that just endears me, especially, to him even more. I just love the guy, and I think he is a sweetheart, and he, Bachelor Nation loves him. I mean, he's done TikToks with a bunch of different people. He's on TikTok. I mean, what? And so it's just, he's so much fun, and he's such a lovely man. And, I think this is great for him.
Yep, I agree. I mean, what else can you say? He's just the sweetest. And I loved that, his family was so involved. They want what's best for him. And maybe he will be our next Golden Bachelor.
Right.
You never know.
You never know. You never know. He was definitely one of our favorites from that season. Speaking of favorites, another fun pair of guests are here for moment number 8, Susan and Kathy. Susan and Kathy we've had on twice, I believe. They've been on this show twice.
2 or 3? Yeah.
2 or 3. They
Well,
first
3 if you count the Jingle Ball.
Yeah.
Good point. They joined Gina on the red carpet last week. They first appeared on Gary's season of The Golden Bachelor. They've become an institution in the franchise. They have their podcast, Golden Hour.
Golden Hour. Yep.
Golden Hour. Great. They've been on our podcast a few times. And as always, it's fun to talk Bachelor Nation gossip with Susan and Kathy. And let's go ahead and listen to this moment, number 8 from late September.
You think Gina enjoys us, Kathy?
Yeah, I think she does.
You guys so much. I love you guys.
We love you back.
As you've been watching the season so far, what kind of memories has it brought back for you guys? Just seeing the mansion and being back in that moment with all of that optimism of like trying to find love.
So I kept thinking, who got the big master room like we did? That was one thing that came to mind.
For me, I looked at
the kitchen looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I cooked there. I used that pot.
Yeah. I looked at when they first did this shot of the Bachelor Mansion, and I pointed at the TV and said, "That's our bedroom right up there. That was where the closet was." And seeing the pool and just brought back for me so many happy memories of such an incredibly fun adventure.
Kathy, remember seeing them sit on the sofa and remember what order we were in when Jesse would walk in, and that feeling, especially when Joan went to give the first impression rose and she walked by everybody, then walked outside. And I remember people sitting there. Yeah. Faith was there when she got the first.
Susan, do you remember Gary walking by all of us? Like we're sitting there going, is it going to be me? It's like, the teacher's handing out the test papers. Did I get an A? Did I get an A?
Joan did.
Walk on by. But it's so much fun really to watch. And just imagine back that it was us. It really is fun.
What'd we think of that one, ladies?
They just love Gina.
Obviously. Listen, Gina has an unfair advantage.
I know.
She gets to go on dates with Joan and Chock to Disneyland. She gets to do all these interviews. Jen and I just get to see them through the Zoom screen, and we frankly feel very isolated in our relationship from the Bachelor stars, Gina.
Yeah. Well, if you would move to Los Angeles, then maybe we
Don't
wouldn't
ask
have
me
this
twice.
issue.
I want to go to
Film
Disney.
here, so what can we do?
What can we do? That's a great question.
That's why we keep her around, right?
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute.
Hey, wait a minute.
Not the only reason.
No, of course not. Very important.
Very important. And listen, and you know them as well as anyone, Gina, and they've become 2 of your favorite personalities in this franchise.
Absolutely. I mean, any time spent with Susan and Kathy is a good time. As we know on this podcast, as we know just from watching them, they are who they are genuine, they are fun, they are beloved. Bachelor Nation loves them, and so do we.
So do we. We're so sad it did not work out with Susan and Jack, though. That would have been awesome.
That would have been cool, but I mean, one of our YouTube listeners also agreed that they're just too similar.
Yeah.
Which isn't always a bad thing.
Sometimes.
Maybe.
Sometimes opposites attract too. So maybe
there you go.
They could have been crooning all over town. It would have been amazing. You know what? How about someone we did have in studio? Joan, our first Golden Bachelorette. And due to her successful season, she probably won't be the last Golden Bachelorette. I would argue that is certainly to be true. She found love with Chock. We're hoping they get married on TV. What are we betting on that's happening?
I think they'll do it.
I think it's going to happen. Yeah. Gina?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, not right away. They've said that they want to hang and like be a real couple for a little while, a normal couple. So it may not be right away. It may not be as quick as, Gary and Teresa. But I think that'll happen.
A very emotional moment with Joan here in studio, Jen.
Yes. And it was so nice that she really opened up to us and shared like her real inner thoughts of what she was going through this season. And it was just great that she was able to find love at the end of it. And they were both, her and Chock, able to honor their loved ones that they had lost.
When you were talking about your family and your husband, John, that really kind of touched me in the first episode was the hawks flying by.
Oh, yeah.
You always, when you lose someone, you always look for those signs. And that moment just spoke to me. So I have to just ask quickly how you were feeling like in that moment as well, because you were at it. It's great.
Yeah. So that was once you lose somebody, you want to still have contact with them, which is really very unrealistic, actually, but you do look for weird signs, like they're out there trying to tell me something, or that they're still with me even. And that hawk thing and kind of became the symbol in our family. And we would see like a bald eagle or a hawk at really weird times in weird places, like in my hometown, which is kind of a city, and it'd be an odd place to see one. And so that day when we were at his gravesite filming, that was like a really important time for me to get a message from him. And maybe I conjured it up in my head, but those hawks really were there. And, it gave me comfort that I wasn't doing anything to not honor his memory, that he was okay with all this.
I agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That moment, as I've lost a few people recently in my life, and you always look for the signs. It's something that just we tend to do. And she got that sign at that moment when she was talking about, filming at the cemetery and seeing the hawk. That was her sign. And that was just really beautiful. And I think it really led to her having this great season and really being able to find love at the end and being open to finding love at the end. As we all know, she had some questions and some doubts, but in the end, she followed her heart, and good for her.
And Joan also had a profound effect on me as well, because I have taken the bed out of my bedroom and now I just sleep on the floor after her fantasy dates. No beds allowed. Gina, why are you shaking your head?
This does not surprise me. I love Gina's faces. It's so great.
No beds for anyone. That's it. The new rules. New rules going forward. All right, number 6.
This could have been number 1, frankly, with the amount of response we had to this guy.
Okay, one of the biggest, most viewed and listened to podcasts here on Playing the Field, Jonathan from Jen's season, who Gina loves to send us clips from him in our Bachelor group chat. Mm-hmm. And what was the one? What was the one that he was standing off to the side with someone and he was like shaking his head at Jenn and Sasha. What was that one? Like the camera started and then it turned to them.
It was. So Jenn had a birthday party not too long ago. It was her birthday in late November, but she had a birthday party here in LA. I was not invited. But just so you know. Mm-hmm. But Jonathan and I think Austin were there, and Jenn was talking, and and she and Sasha were standing there, and she was talking to the people that were at the party. And it was a TikTok. It was a joke TikTok, by the way. He reiterated it was a joke. But Jonathan and Austin, maybe somebody else, were standing there like,
Yeah, they were jealous.
Whatever's
They were
trending
jealous.
about, jealous about that, about what was happening. And so, so it was just funny. And he reiterated in his caption and everything else that it was a joke.
It was a joke.
They're fine. They are friends. Everything is great. But yeah, it was just funny. His content, like if anybody is not following him on social, he's got great content. He's very funny.
Jiggity John.
Yeah, Jiggity John. And, their relationship, their friendship, Jenn and Jonathan, has been kind of one of the more interesting things to follow because he was one of the final three. And, I don't think you really see that, or we've seen that on this show, where someone who made it to the final three and is now just buds with the person that they were in the final three with.
It's hard to go backwards to being just friends,
right.
And he's done
we
it.
We did
with...
see it. You remember back in the day, back during COVID and lockdown, Tyler Cameron and Hannah Brown, and that changed.
No, but they were friends with benefits.
In Florida.
Oh.
I mean, we don't know, but I'm just saying
she
were
said
all
so in her
quarantined together. So,
And Jenn said before the podcast started that those are the best kind of friends. So take that for what it's worth.
Hey,
I mean,
unbelievable.
Married lady.
I wouldn't disagree, Gina says.
Yes,
from what I've heard.
There you go.
Gina loves friends.
Gina, speaking of friends, back to number 6.
Yep,
Jonathan says that he and Jenn are really just friends. Let's go ahead and listen to this clip from early September. Bachelor in Paradise, you pumped for it? You can't wait?
It's hard
or
to
maybe not.
Months away.
Yeah.
Very excited. I think the main question people keep asking me is like, who are you looking for to be there? I have no idea. I haven't watched the show. I've had the chance to meet a few girls when I was after the final rose. I had like Jess, Kylie, and Rachel were all there. Amazing, sweet girls. Are all beautiful as well. But I haven't really had the chance to meet enough of them to be like, God, I can't wait to see them there. As corny as this is going to sound, I'm a big personality guy. Like, you could be drop dead gorgeous, but if I can't carry a conversation with you, like, it's just going to go nowhere.
So, Bachelor in Paradise, obviously a hot topic of conversation. Gina, this is supposed to come back next summer. Is that what we're hearing?
Fall, I think, right?
That's the
fall?
word.
Is it fall or
okay.
summer?
And
they'll tape it next summer. The way it looks like it's playing out is obviously we have Grant's season of The Bachelor airing January 27th right here on ABC. And then we will have whoever that Bachelorette is.
Mm-hmm.
Their season, whoever the next Bachelorette is, their season will air maybe early summer, I guess.
Okay.
But they'll film it, and then they'll film Bachelor in Paradise, and then they've been the Golden series. If they do another one, which I'm hoping they will, they'll film that in late summer.
Well, we definitely want to see Jonathan on Bachelor in Paradise. I think that's going to happen. And frankly, Bachelor Nation has been clamoring for Bachelor in Paradise to return. Have they not?
Yes, and also a Golden Bachelor in Paradise. It's like
I'm not clamoring for that. You two are really hoping to see that.
I am, because I would like to see more of them.
The nude beach and all that stuff going on. You guys can
that's
just
not what we're
say,
clamoring for.
It
We're
is not that kind
clamoring
of
for
beach.
them to be like hanging in Palm Springs and playing
Club Med.
That's what we're-
Is that? Oh, I see.
No.
Okay. I misunderstood.
All right, we're almost halfway through here.
We're at number 5. We are at the halfway point. We just spoke about Jenn and Jonathan. And speaking of Jenn, one of the more tragic moments in the history of Bachelor franchise, especially how it was portrayed in the After the Final Rose, when Jenn had to heartbreakingly rewatch the proposal to Devin, and he's sitting there on the couch, stone-faced. And you two, if you didn't hate Devin already, were ready to jump through the screen and strangle Mr. Devin. So she was sitting, on the couch next to him after the final rose. It was heartbreaking to watch. And this clip from early September, Jenn, is...
That's when we see that moment on the couch, and they discuss, what the future holds.
Let's go ahead and take a listen.
It's been a really hard couple of months. we had left Hawaii engaged, like very, very happy. It was the happiest day of my life. I had thought that I'd found the person that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with.
So we're in the newsroom watching this, and we're going, is he okay? Did he have some sort of accident?
Yeah.
Like, immediately, I thought his health was in question. That was the first thing that I thought.
It did cross my mind. It
yeah,
did.
I'm like, oh, man, this dude is not okay. Is he in the hospital? Like, and she, you know, it's not often you see someone literally have this breakdown on live TV. And at that point, you couldn't help but feel for her and what she was going through.
In front of an audience.
In front of an audience, in front of millions on television. And then she says everything that had transpired in the months after the taping, where he all of a sudden became this different person and
ghosted her, started distancing himself,
wasn't returning text messages, followed Maria on Instagram, which don't even get me started on social media. That's a whole nother animal. But then breaks up with her over a 15-minute phone conversation.
I mean, 15 minutes is somewhat a decent amount of time. It's not like you said
phone.
No, the phone.
Jen's been married for a long time. We should fully preface by saying that. But
no.
You know what I mean?
15
At least
years
it wasn't
ago, breaking up with somebody over the phone, even 15 years ago, is not a good thing.
And especially when you're engaged to this person. It wasn't like you went out to a couple of
true.
dinners. You know what I mean?
It wasn't a text.
Exactly.
Thank
Yeah,
goodness.
it wasn't a
It wasn't a
text.
text or a Post-it like in Sex and the City.
Oh, my God.
I would have rather had them talk over beers at Bennigan's and then do the breakup that way. That would have been much better. How you deliver the news, it's going to suck no matter what.
This was bad.
But, Gina, to do it over the phone and to do it as abruptly as he did, and you can't blame Jenn for saying, what the hell happened, and where was this guy that I was just with in Hawaii? I think, and listen, we all work for ABC, and I think our network rightfully got a lot of flack for that moment. Because it was just something that shouldn't be done to a person. I know it's a reality show, but at that point, the taping had already passed. This was the live portion of the program, if you will. And Jenn, who was such a good contestant and who is so lovable and someone that we all liked from the jump. We had her here in studio. She was great. And to have her quote, in essence, quote unquote, done dirty like that on national TV, I thought was just excruciating.
Yeah, it made me mad. And I didn't like seeing her treated that way by Devin and then having to relive it, and the pain that you just felt coming from her was a lot.
Gina, how do you walk that line as a producer where you're trying to get ratings and trying to get people to talk about the show, but there's also the human element there that needs to be considered because, frankly, they were on the wrong side of that line?
Well, it was the exact opposite of what happened. I mean, basically, every other time we've seen breakups, or at least after the final rose, episodes, we always see, the whatever happened in the finale, the proposal or not proposal. And then even if they've broken up, then you see them on the stage. They didn't do that this time. They said it was because they didn't want Jenn to relive it, but then they made her relive it. And it was like, she could have just been backstage and not relived it. And then, they could have introduced her out, and had her come out on stage so she didn't have to hear it again. But I don't know. I think it was just a miscalculation. We said it before, when that episode, after that finale episode, like if I was producing that show, I wouldn't do it that way.
Right.
I would not have done that. She is your lead. You should protect her. Especially considering you knew that she was going to have to confront the ex, who's a jerk, who I still am very angry about right now.
I thought we were going to have to censor Gina right there.
Yeah, I wish we would have had to censor Gina. I'll do it.
Use that word.
I censored myself. But yeah, I will, I'll say my real thoughts, and curse words and all later. But I just feel like they should have protected her a little bit more in a live situation.
But let me ask you this.
And I'm mad that they didn't.
And we all agree how this was handled. But in a weird way, do you think this worked out better for Jenn, the way that it went down? Because everybody had such empathy for her, and everybody was, I mean, she was already famous and a household name, basically, but I think that basically took it to another level because she was so publicly humiliated that people, I think, Gina's shaking her head.
Dancing with the Stars.
But it did get her Dancing with the Stars. That's exactly what happened.
But I think that given the situation, Dancing with the Stars was already on the table. Having her have to live through that proposal again with him sitting right there.
I don't think it was on the table.
Promo material.
I think it was.
They had no photos.
I think it was a last-minute switch up. Sources close to me. I think
she
it was
off the table from you.
Off
she
the
had
table.
45 minutes to go.
Yeah, and she did. That's a good point. She talked about how she had basically 45 minutes to make up her mind.
Yeah.
And I think in a weird way, as much as it was the worst thing we've ever seen, it helped her and brought her to another stratosphere of her, fame and what she was able to do on Dancing with the Stars and everything else.
It may have, but that's also kind of like saying someone, like say another famous person that had something horribly tragic happen that catapulted them to fame. You know what I mean? Like it's like you don't want anyone to have to really.
No, you don't. You don't want. You don't want anybody to go through it. But
yes,
I think in a weird way it helped her.
And if she does end up with Sasha, you never know.
Exactly.
That could have led her to
That's exactly it.
The next right guy.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And, sometimes, what do they say? When one door closes, another one opens. And she had 45 minutes to make up her mind, went on Dancing with the Stars.
She made the right call.
She made the right call. How about a guy who won Dancing with the Stars? Joey Graziadei.
We'll get to him.
Right now, moment number 4, our very first podcast. Joey was in studio for the debut episode of Playing the Field. This was 2019? No, that was just back in February. It feels like it was a long time ago. David says, yes, don't remind me of that. It's been a long time.
This clip was one of my favorite things you've ever asked anybody.
This clip went viral. It put our podcast on the map. And basically, I had come up with the idea because he was down to the final 6 women. And I said, Joey, give us one word to describe each of the final 6 women. And
here's that clip.
Was his answer from early February. You give us one word to describe each woman who is left on the show after 6 episodes. You ready for this?
Let's do it.
Daisy.
Kind.
I think we can all agree with that. Jenn.
Spunky.
Kelsey A.
Beautiful.
Kelsey T.
Strong.
Maria.
I'll give 3 words. One of a kind. 4 words.
One of a kind. Yeah, 4 words. And Rachel.
Fun.
That's really great. Well done.
Put you on the spot, and he nailed it. And he said, Kelsey, one word, beautiful. And right then and there, we knew who was going to win. At least I knew. His eyes told the story.
Gave it away.
Yeah, the eyes have it. The eyes have it, Gina.
Yeah. Gina wasn't here with us in studio.
She was
She was on Zoom, so she didn't get the same view. But we said later, we're like, Gina.
Yeah. Well, Gina said she does rewatch every Playing the Field. She watches the
body language.
The body language. Yeah, it's kind of like watching game tape the next day. She breaks it down, X's and O's to see what we could have did better. So she did watch it back. Yeah, she did watch it back the next day. But yeah, that was one of our favorite moments, Gina.
And it should be. Joey's great, and I love that. He's come on this podcast. He was the first person on our podcast, which was, on our very first episode, which kind of started us off on the absolute right. And I love that for him and us.
And we've seen him hanging out with Joan, and this Bachelor family continues to grow and is as close as ever. And that takes us to number 3, Joan and Chock. We had them after they came out publicly as a couple. After they won, they did one of their first interviews with us here on the podcast. They were talking about apartment shopping in New York, and we still haven't gotten any confirmation if they found a place yet, which I'm surprised by. We know that is in the works. They are moving to New York City as a second home for both of them, if you will. We're hoping there's going to be a Bachelor wedding here in 2025, a televised one. And this clip, number 3, Jenn, was from mid-November, and they're talking about...
Chock was talking about when he knew that he was going to be the one for Joan.
Let's go ahead and listen in. You talked about Bora Bora, and frankly, that was one of the greatest settings for a finale we've ever seen in the history of this franchise. What was going through your mind as you're walking, making that long walk along the beach to get to Joan? Because the audience, we already knew that Guy was no longer in the picture, but you didn't know that, right? So you're going in there pouring your heart out and kind of having to play this like you don't really know what's happened.
That is very correct, that I had no idea what was going on. And I'd spent the previous 3 weeks trying to get Joan to tell me she loved me. And I tried every stop, looking in her eyes, being romantic and going, do you have anything you want to say? And how do you feel? And she was just lip-locked. We had, at the bungalow on Bora Bora, she came over the day before, and we had a little session on the couch where we talked, continued talking, and then we went outside, and it was probably the most, and I've traveled a lot in my life, been very fortunate to do that. It was, if it wasn't the number one, it's one of the most romantic, picturesque things I've ever seen in my life. And I pulled Joan in, and she kissed me, and, you know, I call it the kiss. No one kisses another person like that doesn't have interest in you know, a serious level. And that kiss just gave me the trust and the great feeling that we were both in this.
And I love how Chock also told us that he has that golden rose in a safe in his house. And I was picturing it being like Beauty and the Beast style underneath the glass encasing, only this one would never droop and go bad. So they're going to have that, he said, front and center in their New York City apartment, which is going to be so cool. They're so lovable. It worked out. It worked out great for both of them, Gina. And even though you said, Gina, that you wanted Pascal to win it, I wanted Chock to win. So I'm happy that it all worked out the way that it did.
Strike that, reverse it, because that was you
right.
who
I
wanted
wanted
Chock
Pascal.
to win, or that wanted
Yeah,
Pascal.
Scissorhands.
I was saying it was Chock from the start.
You did nail that one. And I think they're here to stay, guys. I think they are. I think they're in it to win it.
They're like the Trista and Ryan, but of Golden Bachelorette.
Oh,
right.
I like that analogy.
And they are just so cute in person. When I saw them at Jingle Ball, and they were just having so much fun. It was Chock's first red carpet. And I was like, bro, don't worry. It's not going to be your last. Like, we're going to see you on other ones. It's going to be great. Yeah, get used to it.
And, you know, I've loved seeing all their social media stuff, too, Gina. Like, they've been very active on social media.
I'm waiting for the chalk and noodle soup contest. I think that's going to happen over Christmas.
That definitely needs to happen. You're going to be one of the celebrity judges, obviously.
Yes. Oh, yes. Celebrity. That's me.
Obviously. Number 2, what's this clip we have here from mid-April, Jen?
Oh, where are we here? Oh, okay. So this is, we have Gary and Teresa together when they were announcing their breakup and what it meant to everybody. And I thought, you know, for number 2, it was a huge moment starting this Golden franchise. You know, we had our first Golden Bachelor, we had our first Golden Wedding, our first Golden breakup. And so this is a clip from the breakup.
And this was the one where I was in Colombia? Was this the one where I had to call in from the hotel room?
Yes.
This is the one?
That's
I'm in Colombia.
Emergency.
Yeah, I wake up to an SOS Bachelor text. And I'm like, I'm on vacation, guys, down in South America. And,
look, we were ready to do it without you, but we knew that you wanted to be a part.
I was so glad you called it.
Spotty Colombian Wi-Fi, and here we are from the hotel doing this interview, and let's go ahead and listen in now.
I don't think we can tell you how many people told us that it gave them so much hope. We want none of that to change for anybody.
And Jen, hearing that, it's so heartwarming, it's sad, it's so many things, and maybe really the purpose of Gary and Teresa in the grand scheme of things was not only to give us a great show and a great wedding that aired on ABC, but maybe it really was to provide inspiration for so many people later in life who feel like they have no hope of finding love or finding someone that they can be in companion with for the rest of their lives. And even though it didn't necessarily work out with Gary and Teresa, they showed that, yes, you could still find love and that's still possible even in your 70s.
Absolutely. I mean, it opened the door to dating for them. They now have the possibility in their mind that, you know, I can meet someone. If it didn't work out with this person, maybe it'll work out with somebody else. And it sounds like they could benefit from dating someone in their city or at least in their state. And you know, I hope that Teresa is able to meet somebody nice, because she seems like such a lovely lady, and I would like to see both of them end up happy.
And Jenn, a lot of talk about hope, and that spawned the Golden Bachelorette and really helped kind of launch this whole new era of Bachelor Nation, if you will.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about this before. It's going to be hard going back to regular Bachelor and Bachelorette after so much of a happy time and, people lifting each other up. And now it's back to drama and tears and heartbreak. And it's just, but
well, listen,
it's going to be a fun time.
We're gonna talk
I think
about
that just heart needs it. The heart needs the duality,
we do.
Contrast.
Like the calm, and then also
absolutely. And it's funny, Gina just chimed in because before we get to number one, she is our honorable mention. She's involved in this clip from over the summertime. Mid-July, we had Gina in studio, Jenn.
Yes, and it was such a great moment. I was so happy that the three of us were together, and it's been just such an honor to be a part of this with you guys. I mean, and I hope that's not the last time, Gina, that you're here.
Gina will be here again soon. I have a good feeling.
powers that be.
But let's go ahead and listen to this clip from July 8th.
I'm still here.
Gina is still here. We can't.
Still in New York.
I mean, the podcast just has such a different feel with Gina here. We're able to look at her, and it's like she's come from out of the screen right here into the studio with us.
Yes.
But listen, going back to Jenn, I mean, she's exactly what we thought she would be when she got named the Bachelorette. And frankly, I thought she was better in this episode than I thought she was going to be. I mean, she had the witty retorts. I mean, she was right with these guys. And I think, people wanted to see Maria and for obvious reasons, and other, Daisy. But I thought Jenn stepped in and knocked it out of the park here in this premiere episode.
She hit the ground running, that's for sure. And
perfect.
I think her personality shined. I think a lot of the guys' personalities shined. I was surprised to see how, usually the names don't click in my head that quickly, and it takes me a while to get to know these guys. I started getting to know them pretty well early on, I feel.
Yeah, I just love Jenn. I think she is just this bright light. She is so sweet, and that what you see is what you get. What we saw with Joey is the same person that we're seeing now as the lead. She is, she's just great. I think she's going to really have a great season.
Well, we knew Gina had to be in studio because Jenn was here, so she had to come in personally to make sure that interview went off without a hitch, which it didn't. And we were talking about how good of a season Jenn was going to have. Frankly, listen, the ending sucked, but it was a good season.
It was.
And there was a lot of drama, and it was, with keeping the main thing, with our buddy, I forgot his name already. Keep the main thing.
Sam.
Sam.
I was going to say Sean.
Forget him.
Oh, gosh, it's already happening.
I know.
It's drifting.
It's drifting. You're not getting any younger, kid. Keeping the main thing. And, it was a good season. And now Jenn has become such a lovable member of Bachelor Nation. And we were happy to be here when her journey started, which was awesome. Speaking of awesome, we are now at number one. Our favorite moment from playing the field in 2024, Jenn. Tell the people what this one's all about.
Oh, gosh. I think that it was just the moment when everything, you'll hear Joey say it, everything fell into place. This guy had quite the year. It's Joey's Bachelor season. Joey and Kelsey were with Gina and talking about their engagement. And it was just such a happy moment. So
here we go. Drum roll, please. Moment number one from 2024. And I feel like everything just kind of fell into place for you when you look at this season in its entirety.
Yeah, I definitely count myself lucky, most importantly because I'm sitting beside her, and this is what it's all about. So that's what I think about most and why I feel like the luckiest bachelor that could be. But also, I know it's not always the case that you have people at least have respect and love still for you after this, because you're put in a tough spot. So she knows, everyone knows, it's just, I just tried my best, and I'm happy that people are excited about it, and we're just excited for what's next for us now.
We love that clip. And deservedly so for number one. And to your point, Jenn, that you made, bigger picture, Joey had the best year, I think, of anybody on the planet in terms of what his life became, who was, quote unquote, just the average Joe, pun intended. And then all of a sudden rocketed to fame, won Dancing with the Stars, and is just, guy to guy. he is just an all-around good dude. He is just a guy you want to sit there and have a beer with and spend an afternoon and just shoot the crap. And, you know, it's well-deserved, and you love to see, Gina, good things happen to good people.
Yeah, absolutely. He is that, kind of bright light in the Bachelor franchise. He became like the most beloved, you know, between fans and just people in Bachelor Nation. You know, he's just a good guy, like you said. And he's had the best year. He did the Bachelorette. He became the Bachelor. He went on Dancing with the Stars. He won Dancing with the Stars, and now he's going on tour. They just moved to LA. They were going to move to New York. They told us they were going to move to New York, but I think when they came to LA for dancing, they really fell in love with it.
Hard not to.
I'm just saying.
Not saying, just saying.
I'm just saying. And so, yeah, it's great. I can't wait to see what happens next for him. He's just a good guy.
You
and
know
like
what?
you said he was like a guy's guy. Like, I think girls even the same.
Yeah.
You know, he would like be a great best buddy, big brother type guy.
And I think based on women that I've talked to, his sex appeal rocketed during Dancing with the Stars, which I don't see any disagreement from the two ladies I'm looking at here.
It all started with that flamenco dancing on the
Oh,
Bachelor
right. That's a
season.
good point.
The
Gina-
flamenco shoes, man. The flamenco shoes started it all. And you know what? I think in that interview, Jen, you may have even asked him about Dancing with the Stars, and he said, I don't know. I wonder if he knew then.
So I asked, I think, part of it, and you followed up with the shoes and how he wore shorts while wearing those shoes. And
you know, it was
funny
a
'cause
moment.
We were all
It
just
was a
kind of
moment.
joking about it, but look what happened.
I know.
Exactly.
I never would have predicted that he was going to like tear it up like that and win the whole thing.
Note to all future guests, come on the show. We're going to make the path for you. We're going to make things happen.
You know what, though?
And turn your
going
life
back,
upside
sorry. In going back, Kelsey said like one of the things she learned about him when they were in their happy couple, moments before the show ended was that he was a good dancer. Maybe
There you go.
He was a cheerleader too.
Yeah.
So I mean, all
we
those
should have
things
seen it
are
coming all
coordinated.
along.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what? There is one thing I don't like about Joey. We felt good about ourselves launching a podcast, and then he had to go ahead and one-up us times 10. So he's a real one-upper. That's the one thing I don't like about
He's a
Joey.
one-upper.
He's a one-upper.
But can he crack an egg yet? And that is my question. The next time I see him, an egg. Don't you remember in the?
Yeah, of course. We remember.
Their happy
the
little
fantasy
breakfast.
Giggling, tickling each other, running around the kitchen, that whole thing. You knew things went down that night in the fantasy suite.
He joked to me that was like that egg was sabotaged, but I'm like, I don't know. So we'll see.
Well, no egg on the face here. That is for sure.
No.
And what do we have coming up? We are just about a month away, a little more so, from Grant. Starting to build up some momentum for this. I've been seeing him. Joan's been posted a bunch of stuff with Grant. She did like a passing of the torch.
Rose?
She gave him a rose, to Grant. I mean, we're excited about this season coming
And
up.
the
here, ladies.
tagline, I was like, oh boy, your wish is granted.
Oh, it wasn't, girl, you look good on that horse?
It's good. It was good.
It wasn't, damn, girl, you look good on that horse.
That's what it should have been.
That's what exactly.
It was not that.
I mean, I hope he says it at some point.
Oh, we already, they're riding donkeys in the new season. I can't wait.
Okay.
That's good. That's coming back. We're going to have Grant, hopefully in studio.
And also, we would like to ask our listeners to send us questions.
You know what? We should have led with that. But we know everybody's still listening all the way to the end.
Don't worry.
David, how long has this been? 2.5 hours?
A million years? No, we're going to pump this up big because we really want to hear from the fans.
Yes.
And
ask questions, and we want to ask questions to us or for Grant. So we can ask questions to him when he's on the show.
We'll save those.
And what's the best way, Jen, for them to get us those questions, would you say?
So I would say right now, why don't you go ahead and a lot of our listeners are coming from YouTube, believe it or not. They can fill it out there and leave a comment.
In the comment.
We will have something up on ABC7NY, and we'll put a form up where people can send emails.
Would love that.
Yeah.
Listen,
it'll be fun.
Our podcast does not exist without you, the listener or the viewer, and we can't thank you enough, and we want you to be a part of this as well. So anything we can do to answer questions, Jen and I are normally happy to do that. Gina, not so much. But we're going to go ahead and
She's
Wait a
a
minute.
closed book. No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm a closed book.
I'm so
Ryan,
kidding.
who won't tell us where he goes on vacation.
I know.
Now
but
listen,
I'm a
I
closed
posted
book.
pictures from St. Lucia after
Do you
I
think
got
we're
back.
gonna show up
Actually, I do.
with martinis?
Yeah. You, Gina, and David.
Margaritas, I should say.
Yeah.
Margarita.
It'll be our own little bachelor in paradise. Hey-o.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, good Lord. If you like our podcast, which we know y'all do, what do they need to do, Jen?
Like and follow.
Like and follow us, please. Playing
Thank
the
you,
field.
everybody.
Our audience is growing exponentially, and we can't thank you enough. Listen, most of all, please have a wonderful, safe, and happy holiday season. This is our final podcast of 2024. We always talk about things we're thankful for. I'm so thankful that we've launched this thing. I'm thankful to see its growth. I'm thankful for the both of you, for your insight and the commentary you provide, and Gina with the interviews, and it's really come together quite nicely. And I'm looking forward to big things in 2025. I think we all are.
Oh, yeah. We got an onward and upward.
Onward and upward. Away we go. Well, listen, have a happy holiday, everyone. A wonderful new year. And we will see you all in 2025 on Playing the Field.